Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So here's yet another deck profile for you guys today. It's another Fire King deck, and this time it's on the Dogmatika build. So I've been dabbling with this one a little bit more, which is why it took me a little longer to bring this one out, because I wanted to try out some new tech options that I originally wanted to try in the Tri-Brigade build, but I just couldn't get it to work. So I figured, I was like, you know what, let's try it with the Dogmatika build, see if I can make what I had planned originally work better in this one, and actually it does. And you'll see what I came up with this time around. So anyway, it's a 40 card deck, and yeah, let's just say Fire Kings are pretty good right now, and some people are arguing that this might be one of the new best decks of the format, especially because, like, yeah, the Sinful Spoil engine is arguably the best build for it, but once the Snake Eye build comes out, or at least more of the Snake Eye support comes out, I think people will lean towards the Snake Eye variation simply because it's a little cheaper. Well, I mean, if anything, it's much cheaper, but also that it's also got like a pyro engine going with it. So yeah, it's pretty nice. But the Dogmatica variation is pretty good too, because like it lets you send cards from your extra deck, which, like, for example, Shurek, which actually acts as a one card starter because it gets you access to Ponex and so forth. But anyway, I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, so let's go and get started. All right, so as I mentioned before, the deck is 40 cards, starting off with, this time I'm playing 2 copies of Sacred Fire King Garunix. Where in my Tri-Brigade build, I was only playing this at 1. But in this one, yeah, I feel like 2 is the right number simply because, like, it's a card that you sometimes want to see in your opening hand, sometimes you don't. But either way, you do have means to get to it, which is really nice. And always having that extra backup copy is a good thing too, because, you know, you never know when someone's going to try to banish it out of your graveyard. So that's another thing behind it. So anyway, if a monster you control, or if your monsters that was originally a fire monster is destroyed by a battle or a card effect, you can special summon this card from your hand or your graveyard, so it brings itself back from either one. And if this card is normal or special summoned, you can pop 1 fire beast, beast warrior, or winged beast monster from your hand, deck, or face up on the field except itself. And if you do, this card gains attack points equal to half of that monster's attack points. So yeah, it's pretty good. It gets pretty big fast. So yeah, like, Garunix is one of those cards that just, like, helps you close out games. Next up, 3 copies of Fire King High Avatar Kirin. I like this card because, like, it basically acts as a form of disruption, so a form of hand trap, I guess you could say, during the main phase. Quick effect, if this card is in your hand, you can pop 1 other fire monster that's in your hand or face up on the field, and if you do, special summon this card. And if this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 other Fire King from your hand or graveyard except itself. Then you can destroy 1 card on the field, so, like, it pops anything, which is really nice. And keep in mind, this card does not actually target, so, like, yeah, so that's actually going to be pretty relevant. Moving on, playing 3 copies of Legendary Fire King Ponex. I love this card because this card just does so much. If a monster or monsters that was originally a fire monster is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon this card from your hand. And if this card is normal or special summon, you can add 1 Fire King spell or trap. So this is going to be the card you use to add Sanctuary to your hand. That way you get instant access to your field spell. During the next standby phase, after this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can add this card back to your hand. So yeah, Ponex is really nice. Next, 3 copies of Fire King Avatar Arvada. Arvada is really not neat because, like, it basically it negates hand traps. The only things you just gotta watch out for is Imperm, which, funny enough, I do have a way to play around Imperm. Yeah, Effect Veiler is annoying too, but I mean, at least it's a monster, so Arvada can at least, you know, negate it. But yeah, like, Arvada is just good, you know, to play around Drone Lockbird. But in terms of, like, Imperm being, like, probably this deck's worst enemy, yeah, like, there is a way to do it, and I'll show you. But first things first, moving on, playing 1 copy of Fire King Avatar Rangbali. This is the one that negates spells and traps, so not too bad. It's basically the exact opposite of Arvada. And finally, 1 Fire King Avatar Barong. Barong's just nice because, like, when it's destroyed during the next standby phase, you get to add any Fire King monster from your deck to your hand. And which actually, by the way, Arvada has a Monster Reborn effect, which most of the time you'll probably bring back Barong. Yeah, it'll have its effects negated, but as soon as it's destroyed, its effect's going to be live again. So yeah, Barong's just it's pretty funny because, like, it just keeps looping itself out basically. But moving on. Now, because I am playing Dogmatika, so I'm playing 1 copy of Dogmatika Fleur-de-Lis. It's a sort of hand trap so long as you control or as long as there's an extra deck monster on the field, and if you have a Dogmatika monster, it does negate an effect, non-targeting. And of course, 1 Maximus. This is actually the card that kind of puts this whole deck together. Like, prior to this, like Maximus wasn't all that great. I know some people were starting to use it a lot in branded decks, but and I can see why, because like it basically fuels up your graveyard with extra deck monsters. And just to kick off like specific effects like Garura, you want to draw an extra card, and just to pop a card. But I do like the fact that I have a new tech option that enables the whole the whole engine together. So again, like I like what Maximus can do for this deck, and again, this is just one of the key pieces I need to play around Imperm. And again, you'll see where I'm going with this. But first things first, we're gonna go ahead and start moving on to the spells. Let me get these out of the way. All right, so for my spell lineup, again, to play Dogmatika, you're going to need 3 copies of Nadir Servant, which thankfully got a reprint in the rarity package, so this thing has multiple rarities now. Moving on. 3 copies of Fire King Sanctuary, gives you access to your field spell, protects your field spell, and also lets you XC summon during your opponent's turn. So, yeah, pretty broken card. 2 copies of Fire King Island. Pop a monster to search out any Fire King monster you want. I'm only playing 2 copies of Tanky in this one. I was going to play 3, but because my Beast Warrior package is a little bit more limited this time around, I feel like, I still feel like I don't need 3, but I could always try it, Because again, the card you're mostly going to want to try to bring out as quickly as possible is going to be Ponix. And plus you have other ways of getting Arvada anyway, so yeah, I think 2 is more than enough. 2 copies of Triple T still, because, just in case my opponent does activate a hand trap during my turn. 1 Fire King Skyburn. It's basically Icarus attack, but for Fire Kings. 1 for 1. And Called by the Grave. Excellent utility card because, Ponix is a level 1 monster. So, yeah. Definitely give it a shot if you want to try it. Alright, so that's it for the spell lineup. Now for my hand trap lineup, which I decided to save those for last, and just because I kind of want to show you guys something pretty cool. But, of course, starting off with the most generic one. 3 copies of Ash, why not? 2 Droll. I'm still playing the 1 DD Crow because it is searchable through Shireg's effect. And even if I do hard open it, it's pretty nice because it's just so good against specific matchups like Unchained, because, they don't play a whole lot of dark, so you just want to hit their best card. The new tech card I've been like kind of hyping up for, at least one of them, is going to be Seravis. You might be thinking like, wait, you're playing Seravis? Why only 1 then? Well, funny enough, because in my extra deck spoiler, I am running Herald of the Arclight. Because if it's sent to the graveyard, this is one of the reasons why I like Nadir Servant so much. You can send Arclight, add this card to your hand due to its effect, and now I have a way to protect myself from Imperm, so that way Maximus can go off. So, yeah, like Seravis is really good. So, it's basically like the anti-target. And then finally, 3 copies of Imperm as the only trap cards in the deck. Alright, so now we're moving on to the extra deck. For my extra deck, like my Tri-Brigade build, I'm playing 2 copies of the Grunix Eternity. This card's just really nice because it's a board nuke, well, for monsters only at least. And if it's destroyed, you can special summon any number of Fire King monsters based on however many materials it has. So, yeah, I definitely like it. For my Nadir Servant and Maximus targets, 1 Titanic Clad, because, it does help you search into Fleur-de-Lis. 1 Garura to, if I need to draw an extra card. And just to pop a card. And as I mentioned before, 1 Herald of the Arclight, because again, this is probably gonna be the one I send the most off of Nadir Servant. That way I get Seravis guaranteed, and basically, yeah, just go from there. For my links, 1 Tri-Brigade, Fear Jet. This card's pretty generic for this deck, because we do run Beast Warrior, and Wing Beast monsters anyway, so you could always make this and then just link it off for something else. That way you can then just basically get an extra draw. Yeah, you have to replace a card. You have to put a card to the bottom of the deck, but still, like, just fixes your hand up. 1 Shireg. Even if I don't send this off in Nadir Servant, you can still make this very easily. So its effect does come up. But again, like, if you decide to send this off in Nadir or Maximus, it's essentially a 1-card starter because you get Ponix off its effect, or even DD Crow if you want. So there's a lot of flexibility with these 2 cards alone. Playing 1 Salamangreat Almirage, 1 Link Karibo, because we do have a level 1. And plus, having a Link Karibo is pretty important because it does help us go into Heat Soul, which we'll be getting into shortly. 1 Sunlight Wolf, because it is a fire monster and does require fire monsters to make, not cybers. So, yeah, it's pretty nuts. And this deck is like, it lets you recycle any fire monster you want. And of course, 1 Heat Soul to go along with it. Also running 1 copy of Hita. Hita's just really good, especially for the mirror match. So Definitely a great way to just steal one of your opponent's fire monsters from their graveyard and just link it off with that. 1 SP Little Knight, and finally 1 copy of Axis Code Talker. And that pretty much rounds up the whole extra deck. Alright, now for the side deck I dabbled with just a little bit more, and this is what I pretty much came up with. 2 copies of Nib, just for the combo heavy strategies. Still running my Bistio lineup, so 2 Druids, 1 Magnamut. I was considering running a 3rd Magnamut, and I might do that later on, because again, just for the right matchup, it's pretty strong. Just 2 Herald on this one, and that's only because I wanted to, again, just dabble with a few other tech options. 2 Cosmic Cyclone. Originally it was Twin Twisters, but I decided to try Cosmic this time around, simply because for the mirror match, because Fire King Sanctuary protects from destruction, I figured, you know what, let's go with Banishment. Once that Fire King Island is gone, you know, it's going to stay gone. 1 Harpy's Feather Duster. This is primarily for, like, Labyrinth, I guess. And then, of course, some 1-ofs, 1 Change of Heart, and 1 Mind Control. They're mostly just here to bait out negates, but if I do manage to pull these off, you know, I got literally free link fodder just like that. And then finally, to round up our side deck, 3 copies of D-Barrier, you know, mainly for fusion decks and synchro decks, and yeah, you're pretty much set to go with that. But yeah, that's what I came up with, you guys. Hope you guys enjoy this, and I will catch you guys again next time.